After a massive tsunami destroys the entire city, a group of survivors must fend off the attack of a giant crocodile while waiting for the rescue team to arrive. Today we recap the story of the 2021 movie, Crazy Tsunami. On a beach in Southeast Asia, hundreds of sunbathers are enjoying themselves when suddenly a giant wave approaches and everyone has to flee. Shortly afterwards, the tsunami hits the city and the water invades the establishments. 3 minutes before this big disaster happens, Peng is in a crocodile transport truck that belongs to the Xiao Hu company. The man and his partner are on their way to Chinatown when they are stopped by a group of protesters made up of local residents. The activists blamed Xiao Hu Industries for cutting off the water and electricity supply to their area. Among them is Xiao Hu, Peng's daughter, along with some of her friends and neighbors. Furious, the man tries to take the young woman back home, but Xiao Hu refuses to accompany him and claims that now that she is 18, she is able to make her own decisions. Just then, an earthquake strikes and the group spots the approaching tsunami. Quickly, everyone tries to flee, but is swallowed up by the water. Minutes later, the few survivors are looking for a way out of that flooded place and Peng is searching for his daughter when the truck driver reveals that the crocodile that was being transported has come out of its cage. When he finds Xiao Hu, the man checks that the young woman is all right and San Mao asks why they didn't receive any warning of an incoming tsunami. The man suspects that Xiao Hu, Peng's boss, is responsible for this, and at that moment the crocodile makes its first victim. Seeing the woman being devoured, Peng orders everyone to stand still so that the creature cannot detect them. However, when he notices that the monster is swimming towards him, the driver prepares to attack it, but changes his mind when he realizes that the crocodile has failed to detect his presence. Then he slowly moves away, at which point the iron bar in his hands hits a metal railing and the noise attracts the predator's attention. While the man is being devoured, the other survivors try to open the door to the market and narrowly manage to get inside before being devoured. Mao is the only one left behind, as he tries to retrieve his belongings that were left on the bike, and also ends up being eliminated. After devouring it, the animal tries to invade the supermarket to eliminate all those people, but is attacked and the group unites to block the passage. So the monster looks for another way into the establishment and watches its prey through a glass door. Meanwhile, in the capital, journalists press Xiao Hu to provide aid to tsunami victims and the man says he has already sent some rescue teams to the coast. When asked what that dark monster is that's trying to hunt them down, Peng says the crocodile's name is Gustavo, and because it has already devoured hundreds of people, it has become known as the King of Hunters. According to Peng, his boss took a long time to capture him and wanted to take him to Chinatown to make him a city landmark. Upon hearing this, San Mao takes a knife and states that he will eliminate that animal. However, Peng forbids him to leave, as this would put the lives of the rest of the group at risk. If the crocodile manages to enter when San Mao opens the door, everyone will be eliminated. Despite this, the man is still determined to follow his plan and threatens Peng to let him out. At this point, Xiao Hu approaches to try to calm his friend and ends up getting hit in the face. Furious to see his daughter hurt, Peng attacks the man and goes to help the girl. Due to nervousness, Xiao Hu begins to suffer an asthma attack and Dr. Chen tries to calm her down. Suddenly, everyone hears a loud noise and realizes that the glass door has started to crack. So Ji-Ming takes a pair of diving goggles and puts his head underwater to check what's going on. It is only at this point that the survivors realize that the crocodile is trying to break the glass to break into the establishment and come to the conclusion that the only chance of survival is by getting to the second floor. As all the doors are locked, Mr. Li has the idea of using the pipe to go to the office of the establishment and get the key. Just then, San Mao offers to do the job and Dr. Chen says he will accompany him, despite his wife's pleas that he not go. Hoping to find a remedy for his daughter, Peng also decides to go after them. While San Mao keeps watch to prevent the crocodile from approaching, Dr. Chen rummages through the cupboards and, after finding an asthma pump, he hands it to Peng. The man then crawls through the pipe to give the medicine into Mr. Li's hands and asks him to look after Xiao Hu. He then returns to the office and waits while Chen looks for the key. After finding it, the doctor climbs the stairs and returns to the pipe. San Mao is right behind him, but notices a movement in the water and prepares to attack. At that moment, the man is swallowed by the crocodile and Peng helps Dr. Chen up. However, before the doctor could get to safety, Gustavo bites his legs and drags him into the water. Terrified, Peng drags himself back to the warehouse while trying to dodge the attacks of that monstrous beast. When he meets up with the rest of the group, he has to break the terrible news that his companions have failed to survive, and Mrs. Chen is distraught to discover that she has lost her husband. Despite knowing that hundreds of people are in need of help, Cha Wo is having a quiet lunch in his mansion. Just then, his secretary arrives with the news that the crocodile he captured was on its way to Chinatown when it was caught in the tsunami and is now on the loose, eliminating everyone who crosses its path. Instead of worrying, the man is happy with the news, as he discovers that all those who were opposing him at a demonstration have become prey to the animal. Then Ta Na says her boss has received an important call and hands over the phone so he can speak to a business partner from abroad. When he hears the businessman's voice, the American says he is proud of the way Cha Wo dealt with his opponents, as he used a natural disaster to get rid of them. A few hours have passed and Peng is convinced that his boss will send a team to rescue them. When he sees some guys approaching in a dinghy, everyone starts banging on the glass door for help, but the people are more interested in looting the surrounding stores than saving the survivors. However, when one of the rescue team members approaches the establishment, the monster attacks him and Xiao Wu runs to return to the boat, but is also devoured on the way. Xie is the only survivor and tries to row away. However, the crocodile attacks his boat and breaks the glass of the supermarket, opening a passage for him to enter. Gustavo then destroys the boat and Xie falls into the water. In despair, everyone leaves the establishment. Instead of following the rest of the group, Mrs. Chen decides to stay behind and closes the door in an attempt to trap the animal inside along with her. In this way, the widow buys time for her neighbors to escape. Outside, as they try to rescue her, her friends hear the woman being devoured and see her blood dripping under the door. Just as everyone was about to give up hope of surviving the disaster, Peng hears a helicopter approaching and they climb onto the roof of a building to call for help. Immediately, the group is spotted by the co-pilot who intends to start the rescue. However, the pilot receives an order from Mr. Cha Wo, ordering him to return immediately, and decides to obey it. Furious at his partner's attitude, the co-pilot decides to record a video of the survivors asking for help and plans to take this footage to the media. Confused, Xiao Hu questions why they have been abandoned and Peng says there should be no more room in the helicopter. However, the team will soon return to rescue them. As it is raining heavily, the group needs to find shelter and goes to the second floor of a house so they can all spend the night. Suddenly, Xie enters the room and informs them that the water level is rising, which will facilitate the arrival of the crocodile. So Mr. Li says their only hope of survival is to get to the water tank that supplies the area, which, luckily, is not far away. After tying a stone to the end of the rope, Xie tries to throw it into the water tank, but is unsuccessful. Then Ji Ming decides to try his luck and hits his target. Quickly, Xie ties the other end of the rope to a metal pipe and Peng is the first to cross, dragging his body along the rope until he reaches the other side. Along the way, the man loses his shoe and almost falls into the water, but manages to cling on again and reaches the tower safely. Then it's Xiao Hu's turn to cross and the young woman finds it very difficult to crawl across the rope in the rain, especially after realizing that the crocodile is just below waiting to devour her. When he realizes that the water is rising at high speed, Xie despairs and, after knocking Mr. Li down, grabs onto the rope to cross, even though he knows that Xiao Hu is still halfway across. Immediately, Ji Ming helps his father up and the old man holds the rope to stop it from breaking in half. On the other side, in the tower, Peng holds the other end and is furious to see that the man is trying to knock his daughter down so he can cross. Due to the weight of the two bodies, the rope ends up untied and Xie falls into the water. Xiao Hu is also about to fall, but Mr. Li and his son manage to grab the rope and lift the young woman up. At that moment, Xie struggles in the water and screams for help, attracting the crocodile's attention. It is not long before the man is attacked and his body is torn apart by the animal. Again, Xiao Hu manages to hang on and, with the help of her father, is able to reach the tower. A new tsunami is approaching and there is only time for one more person to cross. So Mr. Li convinces his son to go ahead, with the promise that he will soon find him. Despite suffering from the farewell, Ji Ming decides to obey his father and climbs the rope in order to reach the other side. Meanwhile, Mr. Li uses all his strength to pull the end of the rope and stop his son from falling into the water. Now, the old man is the only one left to cross and his friends insist that he try to save himself. But Li knows there is no more time and, before being swept away by the tsunami, he asks Peng to protect his son. As images of survivors pleading for help are leaked, the senator is pressured by journalists to take action and Xiao Wu is accused by the media of causing the eliminations of Chinatown residents. When he realizes he is sinking along with the businessman, the senator sends a new rescue team to save the survivors. Just then, Ta Na approaches and reveals that due to the rumors, the stock price of Xiao Wu's company has plummeted. So the businessman orders his secretary to find the man who appears in the video to make him a witness to the new story he intends to tell in order to clear his name. The trio have been sitting in the rain in the tower for several hours waiting to be rescued, and Xiao Hu is beginning to believe that they will not survive. Despite the unfavorable situation, her father remains convinced that very soon they will be saved and promises that he will still live for many years to see his daughter enter college, get married and have children. Minutes later, as Peng tries to console the young woman, another helicopter approaches, and this time the pilot throws a ladder so the trio can climb up. However, just as the survivors are about to reach the aircraft, the crocodile appears and grabs the rope. Immediately, the animal dives and pulls the ladder with it into the water. At that moment, the aircraft destabilizes and begins to lose altitude. Just then, the trio slips off and falls into the water. As they dive, they see the helicopter explode and Peng faints. When he wakes up, the man is inside an ambulance next to his boss and asks where Xiao Hu is. At that moment, Mr. Xiao Wu says that Peng will be able to see his daughter soon, but he needs to do him a favor first. The businessman then says that his employee will have to take responsibility for cutting the signal and delaying the tsunami warning to the residents of the Chinatown area. In addition, Peng will also have to take responsibility for releasing the crocodile that caused numerous casualties during the flood. Still confused by what he has just heard, the man does not accept the deal, but Xiao Wu says that this is the only way he can see his daughter again. Finally, he promises that, after closing that deal, Peng will receive a sum of money capable of covering his expenses for the rest of his life. When they arrive in the capital, the businessman is welcomed as a hero and cheered by a crowd who admire him for saving countless people who survived the tsunami. When asked about the man-eating monster, Xiao Wu claims that his men were able to capture it and shows the crowd the crocodile trapped in a cage. He then introduces everyone to the culprit for releasing him. At this point, Peng is given the opportunity to come forward and claims to be the man who was calling for help in the video that went viral on the internet. He begins his speech by taking responsibility for the crocodile escape and the shutdown of the Chinatown signal tower. However, soon after, he claims that the real culprit for all this was Xiao Wu, who did everything to make Chinatown uninhabited so that he could take over the area. At that time, an audio is broadcast over the city's loudspeakers and reveal the conversation the businessman had with Peng, in which he threatened him and coerced his employee to lie. Immediately, the senator gets up on stage and reveals he was behind the recordings. He then orders the police to arrest the man. But before he can be handcuffed, Xiao Wu makes a desperate move and, using a remote control, opens the cage where the crocodile is being held. Terrified, the crowd disperses and people have to flee to avoid being devoured. Before Xiao Wu was arrested, Peng asks where his daughter is and the businessman claims that he was the only survivor. While the crocodile runs through the city streets spreading chaos wherever it goes, Peng is grieving to discover that he has lost his only daughter. At this point, the man comes up with the idea of using his cell phone's tracker to try to locate Ji Ming's watch and discovers that it is only a few meters away. When she wakes up, Xiao Hu has no idea where she is and walks with difficulty to check if Ji Ming is still alive. Despite the wound on his abdomen, the man is still breathing, so she starts screaming for help as she hears some voices coming from upstairs. Suddenly, Xiao Hu hears a noise and realizes that someone is approaching, so he tries to wake up his friend so they can both run away. As Ji Ming won't get up, she decides to drag him to a hiding place and is surprised to see her father approaching. Immediately, the young woman rushes to hug him and asks for his help to take Ji Ming to the hospital as he is seriously injured. As they are about to leave through the tunnel, father and daughter hear the crocodile approaching and try to hide. Believing it is alone, the beast lies down to rest and the pair crawl slowly with Ji Ming on their shoulders. They are just about to escape when the monster notices their presence and tries to attack them again. However, once again, the trio manage to escape and are surrounded behind the sewage pipes as Gustavo tries to devour them. At that moment, Peng says he will distract the animal and asks his daughter to run away with Ji-Ming. Xiao Hu tries to stop her father, but the man is determined to save her, even if he has to risk his own life. In order to honor his father's sacrifice, Xiao Hu musters the strength to flee with his friend as Peng's arm is swallowed by the crocodile, which manages to easily tear off the limb. After devouring him, Gustavo goes after the girl and Peng, once again, stands up to defend her. However, before he could strike the monster, the creature throws him away with its tail and the man collapses. So, in order to save his father's life and eliminate the crocodile, Xiao Hu takes an iron bar and uses the object to pierce the animal's skull during the attack. Now that the predator has been destroyed, the young woman tries to revive her father, but Peng does not wake up. Apparently, Xiao Hu is the only survivor and despairs when she realizes that she has lost all the people she loved the most. At that moment, the girl remembers the good times she had with her father and regrets having caused him so much trouble. 12 months passed and Ji-Ming moved in with Xiao Hu. Together with Peng, the three survivors form a family, now more united than ever. As planned, Xiao Hu was able to enter college and her father was able to be present at this new stage of the girl's life. Looking at a photo on the wall, Peng remembers all the friends he lost in the tsunami and feels grateful to have had good times with those people. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps.